Okay, good evening, everyone. It's time to call the May 12th regular council meeting of the Town of Three Rivers to order. I will have regrets tonight from Councillor Van Dyke. And in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that the land upon which we gather is unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Epawik, Prince Edward Island, Mi'kmaqi, is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. We pay our respects to the indigenous Mi'kmaq people who have occupied this island for over 12,000 years, past, present, and future. First, number 2 on our agenda side is the approval of the agenda. Can I have mover and a seconder for the agenda? Okay, moved by Councillor McFarland, second by Ann. Any discussion, additions, or errors noted in the agenda? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to 3, which is the disclosure of conflict of interest. Is anyone here tonight in conflict of any of the items on our agenda? Okay. Which one is it, Joan?
It is 7.3.2.
Okay. Okay, our clerk has a conflict on 7.3.3, so she can step 7.3.2. Okay, so she can step out at that time. Okay, anybody else? No, she doesn't need to. You haven't come? Oh, yes, and thank you, Alan. I have a conflict on 8.2 I need to declare. Thank you. Okay. So, anybody else? Remind myself. I had that written down, too. Number 4 is an adoption of the minutes of the April 14th regular council minutes. The motion is that the minutes of the April 14th, 2025 regular council meeting be adopted as written. A mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Spin, second by Councillor McDonald. Any discussion on those minutes of April 14th? Okay, mover and all in favor? Okay, motion is carried. The next is the adoption of the April 28th, 2025 special council minutes, and the motion is that the minutes of the April 28th, 2025 special council meeting be adopted as written. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Spin and Councillor McFarland. Any discussion on those minutes? Any errors, omissions, or? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Okay. And we're down to number 5, which is the RCMP report. Welcome. Thank you. Yeah, you can just hit that button and there you go.
Okay, so in South Kings, there were 19 occurrences recorded in April, down from 22 in March. Assaults accounted for 7 of the occurrences, with charges laid, recommended in 4. 2 remain open and still under investigation. A single sexual offense was also recorded, which is open and still under investigation. Criminal harassment and indecent and harassing communications each accounted for 4, with 3 uttering threats. No charges were later recommended in these occurrences. Property crime accounted for 33 occurrences, down from 42. Mischief was the most frequent occurrence, with 18 recorded. A single break and enter is still open and under investigation. The remaining activity included theft under $5,000, 5 with charges laid or recommended. Fraud, 3 frauds. Theft for motor vehicle, there was 2. Shoplifting, 1, and possession of stolen goods, 1, and unlawfully in a dwelling, there was 1. We had a single drug enforcement occurrence that was non-criminal, and that was reported to us in April. Traffic enforcement occurrences increased to 183 for April, up from 152 in March. Impaired driving accounted for 6 occurrences, all alcohol-based. Charges were laid and recommended in 4 of those occurrences, with the remaining 2 occurrences concluded with insufficient evidence to proceed. A single failure to provide breath sample was also recorded and solved as non-criminal. There were 39 speeding violations reported and 87 other traffic offense or violations. We had no fatal collisions in April, and check stops and step files were recorded or entered into by the detachment all over the district. Overall, 390 occurrences were recorded in South Kings, with 379 of these being founded or still under investigation, and a total of 538 occurrences were recorded in all of Kings District. 390 occurrences is higher than April 2024, when 369 occurrences were reported, and last month when 354 occurrences were reported. As for the town of Three Rivers, the notable occurrences were we had 6 assaults, 15 motor vehicle collisions, 7 theft under 5,000, 7 theft under or over 5,000, a combination of either or. Most of our thefts are under 5,000. We had 11 check stops. We had 20 highway traffic tickets issued, moving and non-moving. That doesn't include 13 for speeding. We had 6 driving while disqualified and 1 impaired charge laid in Three Rivers. We had 3 frauds, and we had 12 mischiefs. So those were the notable entries in Three Rivers. Overall, for Three Rivers, of the 538 calls for service, 242 of them were in Three Rivers. Policing initiatives: an individual was arrested and charged for arson to a residence in Murray Harbor. They remain in custody awaiting court disposition. King's members also performed 3 curfew checks, arrested 2 individuals on outstanding warrants, and monitored 3 people released after incarceration. That included post-release visits, and we partnered with the parole board to monitor 3 subjects in the community or provide disclosure to assist with their decisions. King's RCMP also began efforts to participate in the Surrey Regatta Festival scheduled for July and to attend a ceremony to unveil a statue for fishers lost at sea in Murray Harbor that will take place in May. In addition to having attended Ringette and Montague, completing school visits, and hosting RCMP recruiting talks in Kings District. Members were also provided with training in emergency medical response, intelligence collection, crisis negotiation, peer-to-peer support, and supervision. Overall, we have 13 check stops in the entire district that were in Glen William, New Perth, Watervale, Montague, Vernon Bridge, Georgetown, Murray River, Piscad West, Murray River, Roseneath, and Baldwin Road. Hundreds of vehicles were checked during these check stops, and only minor traffic offenses were observed, ranging from verbal and written warnings to summary offense tickets. We also did 6 specific traffic enforcement occurrences: Main Street Montague, Princess Drive Montague, Route 3 from Pools Corner to Cherry Valley, and Route 3 from Pools Corner to Georgetown. Again, hundreds of vehicles were observed and assessed for speed and school bus safety. Often in our selective traffic enforcement, we'll follow school buses to make sure people are respecting their boundaries with children on board. And during each of those selective enforcements, all the vehicles were noted to be operating properly. And unless there's any questions, that's my report.
Very busy as usual. I'm terrified to go near a school bus. I stay away from them at all times if I can, in case I get a $5,000 fine. No, I think that part of your the public awareness you've done on school buses is pretty amazing. I do travel down to Lower Monica quite often and follow them, and you can see that everybody has kind of stays back, and yeah. So obviously it's working. Yeah. Any other questions for the sergeant? Okay, thank you very much, Sergeant Robinson.
Do I turn this off?
Yeah, we can just turn that off. Yep. Okay. Number 6 is presentations and delegations, and tonight we don't have any speakers. Next is 7, and 7.1 is the mayor's report. Just to go over this quickly, it's in your package. It is a busy time of year for our staff, getting ready for summer, getting ball fields ready, and all the things that need to be cleaned up after the winter. I did attend some meetings. I attended, hopefully, one of our last meetings of the Community Health Clinic, which is underway, and some hopefully will be open more as time goes on. And on April 19th here, we hosted an event at the Town Hall for the Guardians of the Children. That was the first time I had anything to do with that group, and they were a very nice group. Glad to meet them. They were a group of motorcycle enthusiasts dedicated to raising awareness of child abuse, and yeah, they were a great group, and I understand a bit better now what they were doing. They are an international group, and there is information online about them if anybody wants to read up on them. It's always a pleasure to take part in the Easter Seal Tour, and this year I went to Montague High School. Remy was just an amazing little girl, and she had a young family. She had a little sister, and it was great. And it's amazing how the staff of MRHS really go out of their way to greet that tour every year. They have food, they have special drinks made and everything, and everybody has although it's a short, brief visit, everybody really enjoys it. I also attended the PEI Federation of Municipalities annual meeting hosted by the town of Summerside at Credit Union Place on April 28th. It was kind of an off day to hold a meeting because it was election day, and anyway, there was a decent attendance. The meetings are often both educational and informational, and it's a good opportunity. We do get a chance to converse with some of our MLAs there as well. Last Thursday with Martina and John, we attended the Eastern Kings Chamber of Commerce Community and Business Events Excellence Awards in St. Peter's, and congratulations to all the winners. It was a great event, and it's nice to see so many entrepreneurs in our community. I'm in the town hall most days. If any residents wants to call me or set up a meeting on any issues they wish to discuss, phone the office, 838-2528. I know all residents are not comfortable speaking at public meetings, so if there's something you want to discuss, give me a call if you don't want to discuss it in public, and often it's more, it is better to discuss some things in private and find out some information for, so anybody that wants to meet with me, don't be afraid to call and set up a meeting. Okay, we have 7.2 is the development permit report. I believe that's as written, is it? Oh yeah, and we do have a couple of errors. I'm sorry, Wayne. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say you declared yourself in a conflict of interest on 8.2.
Yep.
I know that your brother works there, but I don't think you'd be in a conflict of interest because you wouldn't have a vote on the decision anyway, so.
I don't have a vote, but I don't want to. I want to make it clear. Yeah, I want to make it clear. My brother did submit.
Yes.
It's the only tender, I believe. Was he not? Was it not? Fair Alford was the only tender received, and my brother signed the tender. So I just want to make sure, absolutely sure,
But
that
I
I
just
have
want
no
everybody to know,
conflict.
like, personally, I don't think you are.
No, I know, but I just to be sure.
Yeah, okay.
I don't get a vote anyway, so. Okay, now you threw me off there. Development permit report. It's on, it says, put it in your package on page 13. But there is a couple of corrections, and I'll let Danielle, there was just some errors and omissions there, so I'll let Danielle go over those.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just for a few items when I reviewed the report, so PID 1182443, there is no estimated value of work because it was actually a mini home to be moved. So it description says single unit dwelling, so just for clarification. PID 127985, the estimated value of work should read 350,000. PID 1076348, permit fee should read $40, and the estimated value of work should read 4,200, and those are the changes.
Thank you, Danielle. Any questions on any of those on that report?
Sure.
Yep. I'm sorry, Martine?
314, where it's a $640,000 dwelling. How does it come up to the 1323 permit? I was looking and trying to figure out if there was a factoring, how you calculated the fees, and I didn't see any kind of a.
Yep. I will ask Lee to clarify that.
Thank you, Worship. We do residential dollar amounts, so per square foot. So they are 35 cents a square foot. The only place we do value of construction in terms of our fees is when we go into the other categories of commercials, institutionals, etc. So if you're handy with a calculator, you can actually work out the square footage of houses based on the actual fee that's charged.
So it's not the value of the home, it's the square footage of the home.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, Wayne?
Danielle, maybe you can tell me, where's Apple Tree Lane in Lower Montague?
It's Apple Tree Lane is the, whoops. Apple Tree Lane is the road that goes down by the apple orchard, right by Hannibal's apple orchard.
Oh.
In between, what used to be Hannibal's
Yeah.
old home and the apple orchard, that's Apple Tree Lane.
I never heard it called that in my life, so, thanks.
Okay, any other questions on that report? Okay, then we will move on to the, we have a 7.3, which is the planning board report. And I believe Lee was going to, okay, Lee, I'll let you go ahead with that report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, councillors. So this is the detailed summary of 2024. It's taken a while to do the number crunching. One of the difficulties is when you're starting from scratch, you have to devise your methods, run the numbers, look for errors, and as we know, little errors can creep in occasionally. But what we have is quite a comprehensive look back at what happened in 2024. And as you know, there's a few key highlights in your report. It's quite lengthy, apologies for that, and it's very hard to make a dry subject interesting, so I'm not going to be too long here, no more than half an hour. So we had 248 applications, as we know. I spout this statistic quite a lot because we were immensely proud of it. That is an incredible amount of applications for a small town, to be frank. But only 62 of those created housing. Believe it or not, every application that comes in isn't there to create a house. We receive all types of applications for all types of things, and a relatively small proportion of them actually create the homes you see. But they are visually the most impacting thing that you see as a result of our work. So you notice the big things, but there's a lot that actually happens that for reason of its size, its scale, might happen in a rear yard somewhere. You won't see it, but it does happen. Very interestingly, 90% of decision making is at desk level. Now, that's great, and as you know in your reports, if we brought you absolutely every application we had last year, you'd be crunching over 20 a night, twice a month, and that's planning board and council. Now, some might say that's a good thing. I would say that that's 20 reports that wouldn't get the due time and diligence on them. So we have those decision-making desk level thresholds. The more complicated items, the more controversial items can be elevated to council. So it's meaning there's quite a big throughput of work within that application year. So we know we had 122 residential units. We had an immense amount of commercial floor space. Again, when I first joined up with the town, we couldn't find an application for commercial floor space to actually put in the records that we created. So this journey has been many years in the planning, pun intended. We had 64 residential subdivision applications. Now, if you think we had 62 applications that created houses, you have 64 that create the potential for houses, and those applications can come later. So the other side of things that we're looking at is we're trying to examine what's the impact of the decision making in terms of how much land we're using. We know we are a very large geographical area, so throwing statistics around lightly is difficult because it's one thing to say it's a very small percentage of something. It's another thing to say, well, what does 73.4 acres of land look like? Well, that's what we granted the potential for homes on last year. So the last stat regarding agricultural land, I'm going to come back to that in my short talk here. So we've been really keen to collate this data and do the number crunching and present the evidence, not the anecdotes. We're working the hard facts and figures here because they can be verified, they can be presented. And again, we had to start from scratch. We had nothing to work with when we started this journey. So just a quick summary on some of the main highlights, some things that I found quite interesting. So we had 230 approvals in that year. So we had 248 applications, and we managed to crunch through 230 of them within the calendar year. Now, at the shoulder of each calendar year, you'll have a little bit from last year, and then a little bit will go into next year as it rolls over into the new year. So I think you can probably account for a little bit of that, there. But that's amazing to push through that many proposals within a year. We're really, really pleased with that. There's some real interesting insights now. Rural growth. Well, the ag zone, the rural residential, the rural, this is where the development seems to be going. Now, that was really interesting. And we're looking at that in the context of why, what's so enticing about the rural areas of Three Rivers. We all know that, I don't need to fill you in. And this seems to be where people want to live, where they want to make their homes, where they want to have the summer cottages, etc. So we're seeing that evidence now. Breaking those down by zoning has been possible through the way we collect the data and the way we've been improving that over the years. Couldn't have told you that last year, but we added a few lines, a few columns, and we're able to pull that out now, because I think this is going to be very important when council you come to make a new plan and look at reviewing the plan in a few years' time. Urban zones, R1, R3 saw nominal growth. R2 was silent. Very, very interesting, considering those are in the urban settlement areas. Those are where we're targeting that growth. That's the intent of the plan, but you know, we can't stop them at the door, and we have very much a very permissive plan that allows for growth in the rural areas. But it's trying to tease out, why is that happening? So 47% of the lots, the subdivided lots, were in the ag zones. And that can be attributed to, we have a lot of agriculturally zoned land. It doesn't mean it's land under the plow or land being grazed. It just so happens it was zoned agricultural. It kind of reflects its character. But you can have agricultural happening within rural zones. You can have it within the rural residential zones. You'll see it certainly within the agricultural zones, and then you'll also see no agricultural activity whatsoever. And that raised a lot of questions for us. So we did a little bit of digging. And we talked to some colleagues at the province, and we came across something called the Land Use Inventory. Now, every many years or so, I don't think there's a schedule behind it, but the province maps the land uses within the tip to tip, and Three Rivers is done, and helpfully I was provided with the most up-to-date 2020 land use inventory. Now, that's not zoning, as I've explained, but it is maybe a slightly better snapshot of how our land is being used. What is agriculture? What's wetland? What's transportation? What's the developed area? So we know that the provincial colleagues look at that, they assess aerial photography, other data, and they have a machine that puts numbers out at the other end. And that's what the inventory says. So it might be a little difficult to see on the map. I did provide a little snapshot map. If I'd have put that in the agenda, it would have been unwieldy because it is a big drawing. There is a copy on my wall if you'd like to come see it one day. But we know agriculture has 34,970 acres of land, and by what we know, it's in active use. Forestry, 56,000 acres, wetland, 5,200 developed area. Interesting, 6,500 acres. This is quite a small proportion of our overall land area. Transport, our road networks, if you will, 2,400 acres, not hectares, as I've written in my report. There we go. That's my spelling mistake for the evening. Apologies, Your Worship. So we're approaching this carefully because we know that the amount of land we have zoned, say, for agriculture is not the same as how the province will look at is what's in agriculture. The two things are slightly different, so it's hard to make a comparison. So with a small caveat, when I say agricultural land, the amount we've subdivided, the amount of land we've set over to residential is 0.16% of agricultural land within the inventory. Now, that's a really, really small percentage that's been subdivided. Now, we know that the inventory is an exercise that only happens every few years, so we know we're working with 2020 data, so take that with a pinch of salt. And we know that we're in a 2024 review, so this is 4 years later. So there would have been a little bit of loss over those previous years. And given how busy last year was and how not so busy the previous year was, and the year before that, and the year before that, I'd probably say that wouldn't have too much of an impact on that number. And again, that's because we've got a huge geographical area. Urban growth seems to be falling behind. The R1s, the R3s, the mixed use, they're underperforming, despite the plan's very permissive nature toward developing in those areas, especially as they're serviced. And again, commercial applications, 47,000 square feet of new space. This is really good, but we enter commercial development in a bit of a blind spot because we don't have any reporting into how much do we need, how much commercial floor space should we provide in the plan. The way these development plans often work is they'll create a zone for it, and you hope you can get as much in application-wise over the plan period. Maybe when we advance how we do things, we actually look at what should our target be for that, and then we zone accordingly and make sure it's in the right location. So we know desk level decision making is working, and we know that it's never going to be perfect. Some people would like to see various applications come before you. We struggle to work out what's controversial and what's not sometimes, and we have to make a judgment call on that. So while some are deferred, some are just clearly not within our remit, as one of them is tonight. We'll go on to special use permits later. A couple of things I didn't put in the report, and Chair, Your Worship, I'm conscious of the time. Everyone wants to go home, and it's planning. This year, or in the 2024, we handled our first large appeal, and we were successful on that. That was from a 2023 item, but the hearing itself was in 24. The work was done in 24. That decision, the IRAC decision, was actually challenged later. IRAC's own decision was challenged to themselves to review, rescind, or vary the order. That secondary request was denied. The judgment was sound. We as in Pat and I and a few choice others who we like to bore with these things, we look at IRAC appeals quite often because they are extremely informative. It gives you the temperature of decision making. It allows you to make your own planning decisions robustly, the right justifications, the right interpretations of policies, and the way you go about that. Because we know that every application we have is open to that challenge. That's the nature of the third-party right of appeal. Love it or hate it, it's the system we have. So we have to make sure that those reports you get are top-notch and cover all the correct issues. So, we're going to be looking at those even more as we go forward. So much so they've currently influenced how we're writing our reports. The Commission is really looking and placing a lot of weight on the concept of sound planning principles. It's the decision making that goes over and above the bylaw. It's how you stitch together the official plan, how you stitch together the bylaw considerations. So watch this space. We may do a little bit more updating regarding that. That's the day-to-day that you can see. We have those numbers. The day-to-day that you don't see is the walk-ins, the telephone calls, the emails, oh, can I just talk to you about my barn? That is, as someone described it today, a revolving door. I'm really proud of the fact that our revolving door is always open. There usually is always someone to take a call, to take a query, to meet that person face-to-face, to help them to fill out their form, printing them off a site map, helping them work out dimensions, or just explaining what happens when their application is submitted. So there's an incredible amount of hours that go into that, and that's over and above what you see in these hardcore numbers. It's the qualitative element of what we do, not the quantifiable. So, of last but not least, we digitized our record keeping many years ago. We're up to 807 records now under the umbrella of Three Rivers. It gets a little bit more difficult to go right back, just by the nature of the beast. It's likely that we're going to hit 1,000 late this year, early next year, and I think that's a monumental achievement for such a young town. So, going forward, and me concluding, Your Worship, rural expansion is clearly outpacing urban growth. We're going to aim to find out why, and maybe that's something we take forward in plan making. We need more service development. We know that it can deliver the densities, and with that phrase densities, we've been looking at historically how many dwellings per acre are being approved, dwellings per hectare, if you like the metric, and we're actually looking at how many houses are being constructed. Are we making the best use of land? Is it sustainable development? Is there too much? Is there too little? And we're looking at those in terms of what the current zoning permits as well, because you can actually apply a method to work out how many houses per hectare or acre the plan is asking for, and then we can see, are we overperforming, are we underperforming? So we're going to put that under scrutiny as well. There's more documents to come. Been saying this for a little while. The official plan and the development bylaw commit to the creation of many more planning-related documents. Affordable housing policies, the look at development charges. We know we have a housing needs assessment coming shortly. That too will help factor into this conversation, because then we can start actually looking at, are we approving the right things in the right places? We think we are. We're confident on that. But we're hoping to support that view with that evidence when it comes forward, and then work out how many more do we need. So with that, that was your 2024 year in review. Won't be doing any more till next year. Any questions, Your Worship? Happy to take any.
Anybody have questions for Lee? Can you just run the significance of the 0.16%? Can you just, was that, yeah, can you just run that by us again?
Yeah. So what we're looking at is how much ag land did we use, agricultural land. We hear a lot at the podium, we hear a lot in correspondence, we hear a lot face-to-face about we're losing agricultural land. My instant reaction is, are we? Oh, let's find those numbers, let's work out those numbers. So using what we know is actually actively used, which is the reference back to the land use inventory, not a document we made, but a provincial document, and one that they use to make decisions. So working it out of the amount of subdivided land on agricultural zoning, that equates to 0.16% of the available agricultural land. But we know our zoning also includes things like forestry as well. So we group the resource uses into what our agricultural zoning is. So it's a number to be taken with a pinch of salt and a spoonful of sugar. It may go up, it may go down as we start to refine numbers now that we have this resource available to us, and we might be able to actually start looking at what happened in previous years. Again, it's a resource-intensive exercise. That's why we do these once a year. But we're really trying to look forward to when the plan comes up for review. It's only around the corner, folks. We're going to need some data. We're going to need some numbers to work with, because we know that when the draft bylaw came out, there was a limit for subdivisions on agricultural land, 2 lots. We know that that fell by the wayside when we were doing the reviews, and we know the reasons for that. We had representations from farmers themselves who came in and said, this is going to adversely affect me, and here's why. We know there was an appetite for it when the plan was being drafted. I know, because I have the paperwork. I've seen the representations made. So that's where the protect agricultural land came in. It was pulled out of the document, but we committed to looking at it and actually saying, is this right? Is this the right approach? Because we didn't have the evidence to uphold that particular criteria, if you will. And we said, well, what we'll do is we'll start evidence gathering, and then we'll see, is there an impact on our agricultural land? And then when it comes to it, hopefully one day, we'll be able to say, this was the impact of that policy over these years. How do you want to proceed from there? Is it retracted into a little bit of protectionism for the agricultural areas, or is it business as usual, or is it actually there's not enough going on? There's always three options.
Yeah, no, that amount did kind of surprise me, or just how little it was, just compared to, how much land there is in Three Rivers. No, thank you very much. That was a amazing report, and I'm here, like I said, I'm here most days. I know how, I see those revolving doors, and for a planning staff of 3, it's a pretty amazing stat. Alan, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the report, Lee. It's funny you mentioned the rural numbers are exploding. I believe there was myself and some other councillors here were given a presentation quite some time ago, and I forget honestly who had given that. And they had said that the urban area would outperform the rural, and there was a few of us totally disagree with that. You know, subdivisions in the rural area, you take a drive to Pools Corner, take a drive through Lower Montague, et cetera, et cetera. Not just to mention, like you mentioned, we have the biggest land mass of any town in PEI, so it's only natural that there's going to be more room for single housing type stuff out in the countryside. Quick question though, on the IRAC appeals, do we have any idea when something is appealed to IRAC, what does it cost us as a municipality, taxpayers, to fight those appeals? Do we have any idea?
Go ahead, Lee.
Thank you, Worship. It's hard to give a hard figure. Fortunately, in my role, I don't have to pay the bills, councillor, so I don't see those. So
I believe you're a taxpayer as well, though, right? So that's what I'm getting at here. I'd like to know what it's costing taxpayers.
Yeah,
when people go to IRAC and appeal, I'd like to know what that costs taxpayers.
You're in the tens of thousands, several tens of thousands, easy.
That's a good question, Alan. I think the taxpayer should be aware of that. Yeah, and maybe we could get some better stats brought back. I'm sure Dawn has that in one of her headings. Yep. Okay. Thanks, Dawn. Okay. Any other questions for Lee? Thanks very much for the report, and you're a busy department here. Okay, we're moving on to the planning. The development application, 7.3.2. What? Yep, okay. Joan's going to step out for this. Okay, that's that application, or 7.3.2 is on page 25 of your package, and I'll let Ann take that over.
Okay, so it's development application 444.25 for Delory Court, Georgetown, royalty, PID 688663, a major variance of 83.7% for a lot line setbacks together with a 180 square foot boathouse. Be it resolved that the application for a major variance of 83.7% for lot line setbacks together with a 180-foot boathouse on land at Delory Court, Georgetown, royalty, PID 688663 be approved with the following conditions. Condition 1, the major variance and development permit will expire within 12 months of the date of approval. 2, any amendment shall be submitted to the development officer for consideration and approval. 3, the approved documents are the application received April 14th, 2025, site plan and boathouse location received April 14th, 2025, and the floor plan and elevations received April 14th, 2025.
Okay. Moved by Councilor Monroe, seconder? Okay, second by Councilor Spin. Any questions on this variance of this application? No? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carried. Okay, Joan. we are gonna move on to 7.3.3. And I'll ask Ann
Okay.
to do that.
Development application 45.25, 19 Wood Islands Road, Montague, PID 194654, special use permit for a 1,122 square foot single unit dwelling with an attached 612 foot garage with a 516 square foot accessory apartment above the garage. Excuse me. Be it resolved that the special use permit for a 1,122 square foot single unit dwelling with an attached 612 square foot garage with a 516 square foot accessory apartment above the garage located at 19 Wood Islands Road, Montague, PID 194654 be approved with the following conditions. Condition 1, the permit is valid for 12 months from the date of issue. 2, any proposed changes or revisions to the approved plans must be submitted to the development officer for approval. 3, prior to construction and prior to the establishment of the lawn, silt controls in the form of numerous straw bale filters shall be in the drainage routes. 4, the following constitutes the approved plans. The development permit application form received March 27th, 2025. Elevations and floor plans dated October 22nd, 2024. Drainage plan dated March 26, 2025, and the site plan dated March 18th, 2025.
Okay, mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Monroe, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Any comments, questions? Go ahead.
So the only thing this is back in front of us for is just they moved the site within a set amount and it's within the, yep.
Okay, John, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. The rental unit, I assume it's going to be a rental unit above the garage? It's a separate housing unit with kitchen and bathroom?
Get Patrick to answer that.
I can speak to that, to Your Worship. That's an ADU, so they can either rent it or another family member can live in that unit.
Right. And all parking will be backing up there off the, there's all kinds of room for parking back there. Great, thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carried. Next is 7.4 is our financial report, and I'll ask Don to give us an update. Hopefully our finances are as in good a shape as they were the last time.
Thank you, Your Worship. We are in great shape. So this is the last quarter of the fiscal year, month 12, and we're ending strong. We budgeted for total revenues being 4.1 million, and we exceeded that, ending at 4.6, 562,000 more than what we participate. And a lot of that comes from planning. So planning fees are up 273,552, which is great. So total of expenses are down 223,469 from what we budgeted for the year. Our operating surplus, we budgeted at a deficit of 3,219,000, and we ended at a surplus of 783,225. Less some capital purchases and principal loan payments, we're ending with a surplus of 503,566 for the year. That will change slightly. We are in an audit doing our final audit right now, so there will be some adjustments, but we are still going to end very strong.
That's excellent. That's great. Any questions for Don on our financial report? Okay.
Your Worship.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, sorry,
So
John.
good shape for the shape we're in.
We're in good shape, yeah.
Okay. Next is 7.5 is report for information, and there was specific information on that. It's just to inform council of the number of privacy coordinator privacy request information we had this year. So I haven't got the page right in front of me. Yeah. It's just as written, yeah. Okay. Next is 8.1, request for decision 25-10, Three River Sportsplex washrooms. The request is, be it resolved that, that Mr. Plummer be awarded the washroom upgrades project for the Three River Sportsplex in the amount of $59,950 plus HST for a total of $68,942.50. Mover and a seconder? So moved by Deputy Mayor Jenkins, second by Councilor McFarland. Any questions on this? We can refer them to Dorothy if we do. Okay. Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Okay. I'm gonna ask Deputy Mayor to take over the next one, 8.2, and I will leave the room.
8.2, request for decision 2511, two hybrid trucks. Be it resolved, the two hybrid trucks be purchased from Fair Isle Ford in Montague for $76,854.21 each, plus HST. And be it further resolved that winter tires and rims at the cost of $1,973.95 per set plus HST, and backup alarms costing $366.02 each, plus HST, be added to the truck purchase. The total cost per truck is $91,073.30. Financing the sewer and water utility truck to be arranged following delivery, with Public Works truck funded through current operations. Moved by Councilor Monroe. Second by Councilor Spin. Questions, concerns? Councilor Spin?
I think it's just great to see that we're spending our money locally. I think it's great that we have a business like Fair Isle Ford to give us an option to buy a rig like this locally, so that's it.
Yeah, no, it was great to see them put a bid in. I think a couple times they didn't, but yeah, it's great to see them being purchased here locally.
You know, it's right in our own area, so
Yeah, I just asked that the next time, I've mentioned this before, that these tires and anything extra is included in the tender when we're tendering, so everybody's bidding on the exact same thing and we're not buying it as a separate line item.
Okay. So where does that bring us? 8.3. 8.2. Yep. Okay, back on track. 8.3 is request for decision 25-12 for land sale in Georgetown. The motion is be resolved that council approve the sale of a surveyed lot on Kent Street depicted as parcel number 2025-1 in survey plan S6982 for the appraised value of $10,000. There's information there. It's the Georgetown Wharf and the federal acquisition of that land. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Ann, second by Deputy Mayor Jenkins. Okay, all in favor of that? Okay. Motion carried, and if there's nothing else, we'll do an adjournment. Okay, seconder? Okay, seconded by Wayne, and moved by Allen.